In a world.
Mate, hold up. We said we're done with the serious intros.
Who said?
Well, we did.
I don't remember that.
Well, I said it, and you're me, so, you know.
Well, I don't care. In a world.
Hey, I told you. We're keeping it light.
You do it on your own then.
Well, technically, I already am. So, anyway. Fuck yeah. Pure wild flight. Get it down ya. How good? Visit nzaerosports.com.
I get to do the next one.
Well, obviously, you moron. We both do.
Of course. I absolutely love the NZ Aerosports business model. I mean, come on. One glance at an Icarus fuck yeah sticker and you know it lines up perfectly with the fucking pilot mentality. But outside their wonderful use of colorful language and a great company vibe, there's a long list of reasons to say NZ Aerosports, fuck yeah. NZ Aerosports blows me away right out of the gate as a canopy manufacturer with a bold offer. They give you 10 jumps on your brand new nylon to decide if you want to keep it, swap it out, or even return it for a refund. I mean, seriously, how incredible is that? That's like getting halfway through a prom and deciding you prefer the slightly racier date that goes down faster. Seriously, they do that. If you're not madly in love with your new canopy after 10 jumps, they'll let you swap it out for another size or model, or even get your money back. And the range of canopies they've got? Man, they've got a style canopy to fit every jumper and every situation with models you know and trust, like the Sapphire 3, the perfect choice for the beginner or intermediate canopy pilot. The Crossfire 3, when you're ready to kick it up that elliptical notch. The JFX 2, if you're looking to up your new swoop game. The Leia as the workhorse and dirtwater dirt beast. Or the Petra. The Petra cranks out crazy power and is nothing short of a record breaker. But hey, it's not always about speed either. Take the Kraken. Built as a low pack volume canopy specifically with wingsuiting in mind, she gives you all the performance you're looking for with the reliability you need that'll have you itching for that next formation, rodeo, or puffy cloud. So the equipment is top of the line kick-ass stuff as you already know, but how about the team? Well, the customer service gang is there to sort you out whenever you need them. Maddie and Beto are always there to help with Jen holding the reins. They're available for you at sales@nzaerosports.com, and they've got a kick-ass live chat tool on the website if you're wanting to hit someone up right away. These are the crew you're going to want to talk to get those custom orders in. With the stock nylon, once you know what you want, they'll have that shit on a FedEx truck as soon as the credit card machine says approved and get you in the air in no time. For your custom orders, you'll be able to get a time frame for building and shipping when you design it, so get to it. And demos. They've got demos in the US available from their partner Rock Sky Market. The whole US demo fleet is there with Sapphire 3, Crossfire 3, Kraken, JFX2, and Leia canopies in a range of sizes. They also offer student and tandem demos in the US. Bottom line, every step of the way, NZ Aerosports is there to get you what you need, and I personally couldn't be happier to be teamed up with them here on Lunatic Fringe. And now, time to get started with Lunatic Fringe Into the Void, brought to you proudly by NZ Aerosports. Fuck yeah!
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void. A friendly face on the other end of this computer that I have not seen or talked to in a long time and gotten a fair amount of trouble with, really. I mean, a good trouble, but a lot of fun. So please fill everybody in. Who the fuck are you and what do you do?
What's up, everybody? My name is Dan Blakeley. I am retired from the sport pretty much these days, but I was a tandem instructor, AFF instructor, and shot lots and lots of video. Had the pleasure of the opportunity to sit next to this guy for quite a few years and assault our tandem passengers, usually in a good way.
Yeah.
Scare them half to death, so that when we actually got into the skydive, it wasn't so scary. So
yeah. I'll tell you what, man. I've used actually one incident that we'll talk about that we got back and forth on the jokes that we used to do where I went way too far, and I've actually used it in reference many, many times, both on the podcast and in my writing. Like, yeah, this was the time I took shit too far, and you'll remember this. But
one time.
Yeah, the one time. So before we get started into all that and some of the silly shit that we did, how did you get started in not necessarily just skydiving, but in anything extreme?
Um, I always so when I was about 15, I started doing tree work. I grew up a little bit hard. My dad was in the military, but I grew up a little bit hard. My dad was gone a lot. Came from a broken home, so me, my brother, and my sister kind of raised ourselves, and I found out early on that I need to pay my way. Like no one's doing this for me, even as a kid, you know. And I started doing tree work, and so heights never bothered me. I guess I trained my brain at an early age that heights never. I was always climbing trees as a little kid, and so I was never afraid of things that way. And I don't really talk about this side of my life a whole lot, but I experienced some things at a young age that pushed me into a dark place, and honestly, I'm ashamed of the reason I went to do a tandem, but I'm also very happy that the reasons that put me into that position allowed me to discover something that I really loved. But um, I was a suicidal kid, even though thank God, I was a coward when it came to actually, committing to that moment. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go skydiving because if something bad happens, I really don't give a shit right now.
Sure, sure.
And like many of us, we have something. A lot of people come to skydiving from a divorce, a life change, a friend dies, and they realize that their life is very valuable, and they want to experience all they can. So I booked a tandem, and then I went out, and I think I remember in the middle of free fall screaming, "I own this fucking world. I'm living forever." Like it was a completely pivotal point of my life. It was I realized that the things that had happened to me as a child were out of my control. Or I should no longer be ashamed of those things. I should focus on what I can do with this time I have on this earth, and so quickly, of course, right after my tandem, I actually it was about 6 months later. I saved up a bunch of money and I went back and I scheduled my AFF ground school, and then Bobby Goldman he taught the course. And it was funny because there were like 4 or 5 of us in the course, and it was a 2 night thing. We did a split 4 hours one night, 4 hours the next night, and he's going around asking everybody when do you want to schedule your and back then level one, not category A, of course.
Right.
When do you want to schedule level one? And he was asking everybody, and I'm like, motherfucker, this guy hasn't asked me yet when I want to do mine. And he gets to me last, and he goes, I just want you to know, I didn't ask you because I know you're coming tomorrow. Because that's how eager I was, and that's how excited I was to get that ball rolling. So
That's awesome.
That's what put me in it.
It's kind of funny. I just I think maybe 2 podcasts ago had Jason Maletsky on, and his entrance into the sport was very, very similar. Same thing. He was in a very dark place and kind of just didn't have any motivation left, and wasn't sure he wanted to stick around, and went out and made that first jump. And he and I got into that conversation as well, that I wish I could gather up the friends that I've had outside of skydiving that have felt that way and taken them on a jump, because it can make an incredible difference. That being said, skydiving is no cure-all for suicidal tendencies. I mean, you and I have a good friend, Kevin Love, who took his own life a couple of years back, and he was one of the most radical skydivers that either of us knew. So it's not a cure-all, but that probably extended his life a lot further than it would have, for sure.
Agreed. Yeah. The only cure-all to that situation comes from within.
Sure.
And if you discover something that helps you grow as a person and leads you to a different place in the mind and in the heart, then for sure you can heal. But if you're not willing to take that look deep inside yourself, then you're never going to heal. You're just performing an act outside and inside to yourself. And
Sure.
I'm just grateful that I was willing to meet some folks along the way that showed me some things, and I learned and I absorbed.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and it was funny because I had not had a lot of contact with Kevin over the last few years. We were actually talking briefly about trying to get him on the podcast. And that was the last time that I had spoken to him. So I didn't realize that he had that kind of stuff going on, which was a bummer. I was pretty shocked when I found out that that had happened. But again, you're right. I mean, the only person that can fix those demons is the individual that's dealing with them, for sure. Now,
Yeah, I had no idea. Sorry, I had no idea either that he was struggling from whatever it was he was struggling with. So
well, we're fucking good at hiding it, right? I mean, especially skydivers, man. We learn to internalize so much because I talk to so many skydivers, both on and off the podcast, that admit how scared they were learning how to skydive and what a struggle it was to learn how, and potentially how difficult it still is years into their career. But you'd never know it by looking at them, right? I mean,
right.
you talk to some of the world's best that were like, yeah, I was shitting my fucking pants and terrified every time I was heading out to the drop zone, wondering, why in the hell am I doing this? But you would never know it because we internalize it so much. And I think that's both potentially a really good and a really bad thing.
Right.
I mean, you can't have a high time skydiver running around telling students he's shitting himself because he's got that weird feeling this particular day.
There, as an AFF instructor, though, there is benefit in reassuring your students how nervous or scared or terrified you were in those situations, because when they look up to us as their instructor, they see this well-rounded, confident, and usually, not always, but popular person on the drop zone, and sometimes that makes them more nervous. But I think the responsibility of an AFF instructor is not to teach someone to skydive. It is, but it's to lower their levels of fear and
Sure.
and comfort them and show them anything is possible. You just have to flip that switch in your mind and go to work when it's time, and it'll come naturally. Like, stop putting something between you and easy performance, because skydiving is not hard. Let's face it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, no, and you've got a great point, and that was always one of the things that I've gotten comments on in regard to people listening to podcasts with individuals, high time guys, Omar Al-Hijalan, all these rock stars that are like, yeah, I was scared when I was learning how. People love hearing that because it humanizes their heroes and allows them to know I can do what that guy or girl is doing, which is great. And
Right.
you and I had a very similar style as tandem instructors as well, because at least once or twice a week, you'd have a student that would be like, so, like, I mean, yeah, it's dangerous, but it's not like we couldn't die or anything. And both of us are like, fuck yeah. Yeah, we could die on this jump. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I never pulled punches in that. You're always, I was terrified to ever use the word safe because you don't want to give anybody any false hope. The shit we do is dangerous.
Right. The only thing that I would reassure them is I feel really good about this skydive. The weather conditions are absolutely great, if not perfect. Can we die? Sure, but I don't feel like that's going to happen today. I can't guarantee you that, but I feel good about what we're about to do. And in my whole career, I probably have, I don't know, Dean. I didn't, like you. I stopped logging. I stopped buying logbooks because it's a waste of money after a certain amount of time. And I probably have about 7,000 tandems.
Yeah.
And in the entire time I did tandems, I never hurt one person ever.
Nice.
Never.
Nice.
And I only had two people that completely said, nope, do not push me out of this airplane. I am not doing this. But we've had hundreds and hundreds that as you scoot toward the door were definitely, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this, and you have like that brief window of opportunity to tell them, A, you're not getting your money back. You might as well do it. If you think you want to do it, do it. B, here's how I feel. This is
Yep.
this is it. We can't bring you back up again. And then they're like, okay, let's do it. So I
Yep.
never talked anybody into it, but reassuring them that I feel it's as safe as we can make it. No, there's no guarantee, but I feel good.
Sure.
So
Well,
yeah.
my thing with that was their mouth can be saying no, but if their body's still heading towards the door, then we're probably going for a skydive. And knock wood, I took about 8,000 tandems and I never had a refusal. Although, unlike you, I did break one student, but she kind of deserved it. So,
Was
um,
she was she of the round portion?
she was, and she was extremely upset with how uncomfortable the harness was and didn't stop screaming at me the entire canopy ride. I had less than 100 tandems, and this was back on the old F111 canopies, and she got me so flustered that I forgot to pick up the flare toggles. And instead of just flaring early with what I had, I snatched for the flare toggles and still flared with one pair of toggles late. So she sat on her own foot and I snapped her foot.
Well,
Completely my fault, absolutely my fault, because you should never let a student rattle you to the point where you're not doing your job. And I can put a lot of caveats to that. I mean, obviously there were many reasons why I fucked up, but I did fuck up, again, the flip side to that was I never had a refusal because like you have to learn to play, 30-second psychologist. What do I need to say and do to get this person confidently out of the plane? And you get good at it after a while.
Right.
I mean, you and I sat next to each other in the plane day after day, tandem after tandem with all different kinds of students. And you learn very quickly that they all kind of fall into a few categories. There's variations, of course, but you learn pretty fast how to deal with each type of personality to get the job done. And it's nice. It's fun.
Yeah, as you led into that personality comment there, I was actually thinking, as an instructor, you have to be a chameleon, and you have to adjust to people. You cannot expect them to bend to your way, And I see a lot of I saw, not anymore. 2020 was my last tandem. 2018, I believe, was my last full-time season. But I saw a lot of instructors along the way that never bent and never adjusted and just screamed and yelled at people or belittled them and made them feel, horrible about themselves and the experience they were about to go through. But I truly believe that, respect is the key in that moment. And, you just have to allow that person to go through whatever emotions and mindset that they're going through, and just kind of nudge them along. It's almost like you're their parent at the moment, and you're trying to show them something amazing, or parents who just yell at their kids, they don't ever learn a lesson.
Sure.
They don't ever come to a place where they can see what you're trying to say, instead of just feel like you're putting them down.
Sure.
So especially with AFF, going back to AFF, there was my last home drop zone. So I worked out. I'm not going to say the names of the places because I don't want anyone to ever take offense to what I'm saying, but when I left Davis, I went to a place in Sonoma County, and I worked there for several years. And it was a small little Cessna drop zone, so it was like just 4 or 5 of us. And the owner of the drop zone was someone from Lodi, and the Lodi way. It's pretty much. I can't say I know the Lodi way. I never jumped there. I've been there a couple times, but this particular person, when he did AFF, I could not believe the way he spoke to his students. He would just belittle them and make them feel stupid. And right before the jump, sometimes, like, if you perform like you did on the last jump, you're out. You're not even coming back. Like, instead of encouraging them in a way, the first thing you do when you debrief a student when you get down is you point out all the good shit they did before
Absolutely.
You try to correct any bad habits. Because if you start with the bad habits and you just launch into them, then you're just putting a wall in that person's brain, and they're never going to perform at a level to save their own ass.
Absolutely.
But I won't say names. I know you know who I'm fucking talking about.
I may have an idea.
Yeah.
All right, we ran in similar circles, so yeah, I may have an idea.
Yeah.
Now, we actually skipped by. You got into the sport and you started doing the tandems and stuff. How quickly did you transition into working in the sport? And were you like me? Were you just a workhorse, or did you have a season or two of just pure fun jumping?
So I made my first jump in '94, tandem. And then in 1995, like 6 months after my tandem, maybe 8 months after my tandem, from the moment I did my tandem, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to learn to skydive.
Sure.
I didn't really realize right away that I wanted to become a workhorse, because that's what I was for most of it. But in '95, I went to the AFF course, and then from '95 till about 97 or 98, actually, I probably did 30 or 40 jumps a year. I didn't do much. And then, although I wanted to, but it was expensive. I was a young kid. I was 20, 21 years old at the time, figuring life out. And I, uh, I had gone down to Gold Coast Skydivers in Mississippi, and I'm to visit my family, because all my family was in Mississippi. At this time, I was living in Rhode Island. And uh, in '98, I got an invitation to go to the Mardi Gras boogie there, which was a really cool event. And they were just a weekend drop zone. So I went down to the Mardi Gras boogie, but I went early. I went early, like about 2 or 3 weeks before the boogie, and I went out to the drop zone and I had just bought a camera. I had 101 jumps, or 100 jumps. And and those cameras at the time, I had an old Boreal ski helmet, and I had the big bulky digital 8 camera with the big tapes, not the mini DVs. And there I was sitting on the bench connecting the camera to the helmet. And I think at that point I had like 2 or 3 camera jumps, because I was jumping in Danielson, Woodstock in Connecticut. And I bought the camera and mounted it and tried it out a couple times there. And then I went to the boogie, or was early for the boogie. And this fella, Mike Igo, he's passed now, but Mike Igo was the person that pushed me into, and I knew I wanted to take that route, but he gave me an opportunity that you don't see these days. 101 jumps, 102 jumps, 2 jumps with the camera. I'm mounting it on the camera, the helmet. He comes walking around the corner. He said, "You shoot video?" And I'm like, "Not exactly, but I want to learn." And he said, "You wanna go jump with a tandem and shoot a tandem video?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to pay for a jump ticket to go jump with a tandem, but I appreciate it." Because I thought he was a tandem instructor. I didn't realize who he was.
Right.
He goes, "No, no, no, no. I own the place. I'll put you on the plane for free." I'm like, "Free jump? Yeah, I'll go film a tandem." He said, "Go with this person, and when you get down, don't even pack your rig. Come over and show me the video." So I did that. And, I'm, I believe I'm fortunate. I know I'm fortunate with mind and body communication. Things sometimes come naturally to me, or easier. I don't build a wall. I never had the fear. I learned early not to fear things. And
Sure.
so I landed, and I went and showed him the video, and he's like, "That's not bad. Follow that guy." So I said, "Okay," follow the next one. About 3 or 4 jumps later, he said, "Do you want a job?"
Yeah.
And I said, "A job?" He said, "Yeah, he said, from the first time you filmed that tandem to this 4th one you just showed me, you're you're ready. You can do this. I know you can do this." And I said, "I'll be right back." I walked over to my bag, had my round trip ticket in it to go home. And I walked back with the ticket, the boarding pass that I had printed, and I just tore it up in front of him and put it in his hand. And I said, "Awesome. Yeah, I'm staying."
Dude,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And it was just a weekend drop zone. So I was working, I had friends there. I used to live in Mississippi. My family lived there. So I was working, weekdays until I transitioned into like making enough money on the weekends to not work anymore.
Sure.
And then to take that a little further, my tandem rating came to me through a fella, Ben Crow. He's passed away now. He actually had a heart attack on a tandem.
Oh,
And
wow.
died in freefall, which is ironic because my course director died the exact same way. So don't ever teach me a course. I'm going to tell you right now. But there was a fella at the drop zone in Gold Coast that didn't really like me, and I had gotten my coach course rating. And actually, I wasn't interested at all in becoming an instructor. I was just shooting video. But Ben came up to me and he said he just got his tandem examiner rating, and he said, "Do you want to get your tandem rating?" And I'm like, I've never really thought about it. And he said, "You're fucking getting it. You know why you're fucking getting it? Because I was speaking with so and so at the campground last night, and I said that you would make a really good instructor, and he just trash talked the shit out of you. So we're gonna show him." So at the time, I was broke. I was just working weekends. Just the whole Skyver. I'm eating can of beans. That's all I got for dinner. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And um, so I was like, well, I can't really afford the coach course. He's like, I'm paying for that for you. Go over here and see. I can't remember the coach course director's name, but it was in Alabama. So I went and did the coach course. And then I got back and he basically gave me, I earned it. I didn't pay for anything,
Mm.
nothing. He sponsored me, I should say, is the better way to put it, for both ratings. And that's basically when I started my career. Basically, the tandem videos and the tandems were the first of it, and then
Sure.
I got my AFF rating in 2009 or something. So
Well, I mean, you and I kind of came up in a generation that had opportunities like that, right? Because I mean, my first camera jump I ever made was with Kevin Love's camera helmet. And the only reason I got to do that is because he was going to go do a 4-away with the Gary Spear that owned the wind tunnel in Vegas. It was Gary, Juliana C., Lou Sanborn, and Kevin. So it's D1, Juliana C.,
yeah,
who was a badass skydiver and, the owner of the wind tunnel. So it was a hell of a 4-away. And I'm
yeah.
standing there with, I think I had 27 jumps. And he's like, dude, here, this is what you do. You're gonna go out on this
Here to
step.
this circle.
Yeah, absolutely. He's go out on this step. You're going to follow us out. So you're going to let go after we go, and you're going to fly above us until you can feel our burble with your fingers and stay there. And I'm like, fuck it. Too stupid to know I shouldn't be doing that. And actually shot a good video. And cut to about the same time you started shooting tandem videos. I got my first shot shooting a tandem video with Outlaw Skydiving in Jean, Nevada. Because AJ Moeller, who owned that, just didn't give a fuck, man. I was a warm body with a camera, and he's like, "Yep, go to work," and that was it. That started my career. Unlike you, I didn't want to get my tandem rating at all. I got forced into it at the old Skydive Las Vegas because Michael Hawks told me, "Get your tandem rating or get the fuck out." And I was making a lot of money shooting video at the time, so I got it just to save my job, and hated it for the first 100 jumps. And then through figuring out all the stuff that you and I know now, fell in love with doing tandems. It became my favorite way to jump, for sure, for a number of reasons. One, because of the interaction with students, but two, because of the interaction that I'd have with instructors like you, because you and I had a fucking blast working together doing tandems.
I think they started separating us on the loads because we were probably having more fun than anybody. And you know, a lot of people want to have that fun and join in, but some people there's always those haters and jealous people out there, and
Yep.
those types of people will try to rain on your parade. And you know what? We just launched umbrellas everywhere we went, and we didn't care. We still had our fun, you know.
Oh man, I mean, we would get on plane after plane and have people laughing and having a good time, and with only a few notable exceptions, it was always pretty well received by the students. I mean, I think we had like 98% of our students had an amazing time, and maybe 2% we pushed a little too far. In fact,
Which is ironic because we accosted Buster the mannequin together.
well, I
I
still have a picture of us in a rather torrid threesome with Buster the Mythbusters mannequin in the back of a pickup truck. Yes.
You will have to send that picture to me because I don't have any more. I only have two questions about that joke though. A, you said it was a shitty joke. I'm assuming that was a pun.
It was.
And I forgot the other question. That's okay. Moving on. But
yeah, it was a really good joke, but it's a horrible joke. Like it's not yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, the other question was, did you give him the fifth point of attachment?
Oh, see, we're falling back into it.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
hard not to when you reminisce. Reminiscing
Right.
allows you to fall right back
Yeah.
into the pieces, the places. Yeah.
Well, and it's, it was kind of funny. I had a few years back, I had Hannah Betts on the podcast, and Hannah Betts is this badass stunt woman and an amazing skydiver, and really just an incredible representative of the women in our sport. And we got talking about the disparagement between men and women in the sport. And I had admitted that I hadn't seen a lot of that because I always had an opinion that women in the sport were generally a badass, but that also kind of made me blind to the real issues that are out there. And she had a great response, which was something along the lines of, well, you're learning. That's all we can expect is, yeah, everybody's going to make mistakes and do and say stupid things that are guided by the times and the culture with which they're brought up. It's the ability to start to realize that some of the stuff you were doing was pretty shitty looking back, so I still laugh at that situation, but it's one of those cringing laughs like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And
Yep.
you learn.
Yep.
You could never get away with that kind of shit these days, nor should you be able to. If a tandem instructor pulled the kind of crap that you and I used to do on a very regular basis, they'd be fired in 5 seconds flat.
Yeah. Well, that all goes back to growing as a person. I mean,
Sure.
that's you can either choose to grow as a person or you can be forced to grow as a person, but we all grow as people somehow. And there's negative growth too. Like you can go the wrong direction in life. And fortunately, some of the lessons that probably both of us have learned has maybe opened our eyes to certain things or whatever. And it all comes down to respecting people. We never intended to disrespect anybody.
No.
One of the biggest reasons that I was a clown on the plane was because you have to drop the guard of the person that's about to jump, your tandem student, that is, for 2 reasons. They'll enjoy it more, and most importantly, if they drop their guard, they're less likely to fucking do something stupid and kill you. You know?
Yep.
And I'm not going to lie. I did that a lot for myself so that I try to relax the folks. If you see somebody super scared, well, you don't really joke with them. You do it in a different way. You try to calm them and connect
Sure.
with them in a way that is comforting.
Sure.
Yeah, if people are having fun, you go with it and you have fun. And sometimes we had a little more fun. Most of the time we had a little more fun. But, looking back at it in hindsight, I think you should have just a little bit less fun than the person that's connected to you so that
Sure.
you're not overriding their experience. But,
well, one of the things that I found that you and I having horseplay in the aircraft did is it flew through the time in the aircraft, which gave the students a lot less time to dwell on what was coming because they were too busy interacting with us. Most of the time, our jokes being a lot more respectful than that particular instance. But we also knew when it was time to get serious. So we would always joke back and forth, but you'd hit that 8,000 or 10,000 foot mark when we start getting geared up. And then both of us would lock into our student. All right, here's what's going on. Here we go. All right. And don't forget, it's only 11 o'clock. And in my book, everybody has lunch, all those little fun jokes that you let them know. Hey, in all seriousness, I've got 6,000 tandems. I've got a lot of experience doing this. I think this is going to be a great jump. You're going to have a blast. So
right.
You knew when to shift gears. Or if, like you're saying, you have that person that's really teetering on the edge, then the joking goes away. And it's literally either you keep your mouth shut and let them deal with what they're dealing with, or you're the comforting whisper in their ear saying, look, I've been doing this a long time. This is all good. Your cameraman right there is a badass. He's been doing this a long time, or she has been doing this a long time. And so you learn to gauge those students accordingly, of course.
Right. Definitely. Yep. And, there's nothing wrong with having fun as a tandem instructor, because if you sit there and don't speak to them and you appear to not be having a good day, or you are too cool to speak to them, because there's a lot of too cool instructors out there. There's a lot of instructors out there that are too cool to talk to fun jumpers
Yep.
or interact with people that are not at their level, which completely annoys the shit out of me.
Oh yeah.
That's worse than maybe having a little more fun than they expected you to have, in my opinion.
Sure.
So
No, I agree. Well, and it also makes them nervous too. If your instructor's having a bad day, what's next?
this person doesn't like me. I'm attached to them. What are they going to do to me in free fall?
Yeah,
They're going
for
to let
sure.
me go, and of course we always make those horrible comments. No tip, no clip. Come on now.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But
or don't let me be the last thing that runs through your mind.
right,
Or
right, right. Well, and you learn to gauge those with the students that you've got too, because there's the ones that are going to find that funny and think, well, there's no way this guy's going to be joking around about dying if he really thinks we're going to die. And then there's
Right.
the ones where you don't want to say boo too loud or they're out the door.
Right. Or the classic female that has her claws embedded in your legs for 15 or 20 minutes on the plane ride the whole time, and you have to go home and explain that to your significant other.
Sure, sure, sure.
uh,
Well,
yeah.
and then there were, it's kind of funny too, because you have so many random things that'll happen on a drop zone. For you and I, we would have Jim Matthews would come stumbling into the gear room on crutches, or this cast, or this is wrapped up, or this is bandaged, and you have to look at him and go, yeah, that's one of our instructors.
I think if you're on the IR list, the injured reserve list, you should stay the fuck home.
Right. Right.
No, I'm just kidding. The reality of gravity, it wins every time, regardless if it's a soft touchdown or a hard one.
It does.
And
It does.
everybody knows this. So the technology in the sport, even when I got into it in 94, 95 is, I guess, when I should say I really got into it. But even since the early 90s, the technology in the sport has been amazing and just does nothing but progress. And
Yep.
I'm not going to say it's foolproof, but God, I'm glad I didn't learn in the 60s and 70s or whenever it was that it was breaking people left and right.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. Hey, speaking of broken people on Skydance, were you there for the guy that jumped off the top of the hangar?
I was not there, but I heard all about it. Yeah, he
Oh,
was. What was he saying? I can fly, and then he broke
well,
both ankles.
he's the one that after he graduated AFF said he never wanted to cut away and use his reserve because it was too expensive to repack. So he decided he would just track to the power lines, take his belt off and rope the power lines and stop that way. And somebody asked him, well, how are you going to get down from the power lines? They're 40 feet up. And his response was, well, I'll just PLF. Now, this is when he was drunk, around the bonfire on a Saturday night. And next thing you know, he's yelling at us from the top of the hangar, screaming, see, watch this. And of course, he jumps off and just drills himself in the gravel next to the door. And I think he walked like 6 months later because he broke everything below the waist.
Golf clubs or a bowling ball.
Yeah,
go to another sport. That reminds me of a really good person. I don't know if I think this is before you came to Davis, but there was this kid named Chase he was from Tahoe. He and another buddy of his would come out and they were learning AFF, and they progressed and got their A license and maybe like 50 jumps or something. And even in AFF, if you had a cutaway, you had to pay for the fucking reserve pack, which is stupid. And so this fella named Chase, it took all he had to come out and make 4 or 5 jumps over a weekend, once or twice a month, and and before I go further, but that type of activity of a DZO, it turns good people away from the sport. It turns people away from the sport, and unfortunately, sometimes those are really good additions to the drop zone. And when you do that, you're weakening your ability to invite good folks and make a good family. But Chase had a cutaway in AFF and responded very well. And then when he was learning to jump, I think he was going for his A license, and he was paying a packer all this time. And then a Skydance packer, mind you. And then he had another malfunction and cutaway, and he's like, man, fuck this shit. Every time I fucking make a jump, it costs me $65 extra to do a reserve pack. What is it? I didn't even pack the rig. Why am I responsible for this? So guess what? he had a fucking line over, and what did he do? He landed. He didn't cut away because he didn't want to pay for the pack job.
Yeah.
And that, that was stupid. Find a way to pay for the pack job. But more importantly, what are you putting in these people's minds as a new jumper before they decide whether or not to pull that red handle, and save their ass? Because he could have died or broken both of his legs. Fortunately, he was on like a 280 and he landed with a slow spin. And and if it was a 220 or something smaller, it probably wouldn't have been okay. He just kind of dusted off and walked away, fortunately. But
sure.
So.
Well, and as I say, never blame the packer for what you get. I'm remembering, and you might remember this, when I was doing tandems, I had a rash of cutaways. And it was when they had hired the two kids to come out and pack, the two college kids that weren't jumpers. I don't think that either of them had ever made a skydive, and they got hired as packers. They taught them how to pack tandems and put them on the mat. And they were shitty packers. They just weren't any good. And this kid kept packing me just neck breakers and a couple of cutaways. And on one of my last ones, he packed me just one of the hardest openings I had ever had with something that I had to chop. I chopped the thing. I go back into the hangar, just fuming mad. And I throw the rig down and I pick up the canopy and I ball up the canopy and throw it down on the ground and look at him. And I said, put that shit in the fucking container just like it is. And it's going to be better than the shit you've been packing me. Yeah. And then I told him, you know something, fuck this. You're going on a jump, because he had never made a jump. And so I made him do a tandem with me on one of his pack jobs. Best fucking opening I'd ever had. I was so mad.
Nathan?
Yes.
Nathan?
Man, I was so tempted to cut that good canopy away just to prove a point, but I'm looking at it was such a beautiful opening. I'm like, you motherfucker. I can't.
As you speak about cutaways, you told me a story one time, and I too went through a slew of cutaways with those kids. I had 2 in 1 fucking day, or maybe no, 2 in 1 week. I'm sorry, 2 in 1 week, and I have an A license in cutaways in reserve rides because of them. And but you had told me a story one time. You're like, you told this guy, look up, I don't like the color red, and you chopped. And so every time I had a cutaway forever after that, like I was trying to remember to do this, but you go through normal procedure and you're not worried about making a joke at that point, right?
Right.
But when those boys were packing, I had so many in a row that I'm like, it just became second nature to fucking reach for that cutaway handle and release and pull the reserve. And so finally I was going for it. I'm like, oh wait, look up, dude. Look up. He wouldn't look up. And I finally screamed, look up. And I said, I don't like that color parachute and cutaway. And this dude, he was one of those macho, and it couldn't have been a better student. He was one of our tandem pastor. He was one of those macho guys that I'm not afraid. And he just yelled with terror for and I'm like, look up, we got a functioning parachute, it's okay. He's like, you really didn't like the color? I'm like, no dude, we got a problem. I wouldn't do that. I'm like, that's silly, so but I tried so many. I think I went through about 5 cutaways before I actually remembered to do it.
Yeah we had some interesting stuff out there. I mean, well, you and I actually got to do and this is still a sore point for me. We got to do Mythbusters together, which was super cool. We were still.
Know what you're gonna say.
Of course,
know what you're gonna say.
Of course you do.
Dan, I get an interview and this and that, and tandem buddy.
Tandem buddy, goddamn motherfuckers. And the setup was Mythbusters is going to come out to Skydance, and they're trying to break the point break myths. So it's, can you talk in free fall? Can you have a 90-second skydive from 4,500 feet? And can you catch somebody if you leave 15 seconds after? Well, I ended up being chosen as the tandem instructor, and you're shooting video. But what they're going to do before anything else is they're going to throw Buster. And for anybody that doesn't know the show, they had this crash dummy that they would do all the really dangerous stuff with. So they brought this crash dummy out to see if you could have a 90-second free fall from 4,500 feet, which of course everybody knows you can't, but they're trying to prove a point. So we chucked Buster out of the plane at 4,500 feet over the landing area with no parachute and just let him go in. but it took ages, and I forget what was going on with their production manager, but she was just an asshole. And I forget what she was telling everybody to do, and I think I told her to go fuck herself. I'm like, you know something, go fuck yourself. We're not doing this bullshit. Well, then cut to, we did the jump with you and I where you were the one trying to talk to Grant Imahara in freefall to see if he could hear the words. And of course he couldn't. And then Nicholas Anderson jumped in and did the catch up after 15 seconds. And I took both tandems. And then the fucking show comes out and everybody's together watching the show. You got the full interview. Your name's there, Dan, this and that. And they just labeled my ass as tandem fucking buddy because I told that producer to go fuck herself.
Those were some good times, but back to the owner of Skydance. He is so stubborn about spotting. If he was ever flying, don't tell me how to spot. Remember that? Don't tell me how to spot. We are all standing there, and it took 2 takes for Buster. Remember?
Yep.
They did a low pass and flew him over the landing area just to get the landing shot because the owner fucked up the spot and almost put Buster through a house. We're all just standing. Well, it was not as close as we thought because he came in behind the house and we were on one side. And
right,
you're not allowed to talk while they're filming. And we're all just standing there on the side going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Get a chase truck and go see if that hit that fucking house. And then I don't know if Ray felt stupid, but I don't know that he ever argued an instructor's light commands at the door anymore or any of that, but he probably did. That man was so stubborn, and
it was like, all I could imagine was, could you imagine if you were the owner of the house and Buster comes crashing through your roof?
Because a bunch of those bubblegum looking beads everywhere.
Yeah. How did we end up doing the picture of, because we fully buggered Buster in the back of a pickup truck because we had to go collect his dead body off the landing area, and we ended up taking pictures of us taking turns pulling a train on Buster.
When they launched him into the landing area from that like 800-foot low pass, we just went and picked him up and threw him in the truck, and we were going back to the hangar, and I'm like, get that side, get this boy.
I specifically remember now why I decided I had to nail Buster, because, and you'll remember this, Carrie Byron was out there. And Carrie Byron was the beautiful redhead that was part of the show. And when we finished when we finished the entire day, we were all out at the bar, and Carrie and I were flirting, and Ray got mad, and he sent me in the PAC 750 he made me take the plane to the shop that night to get me away from Carrie. And he and I have even talked about this since, because he thinks it's hilarious that he did this. And so you and I had it at Buster, because I'm like, well, at least I got to say I have carnal knowledge of one of the Mythbusters.
Yeah,
so silliness, man.
Ray. Again, we spoke about this before we started this podcast, but I do my best not to trash talk people these days. But truth be told, Ray was definitely hypocritical in a lot of situations. Like, don't flirt with students, don't flirt with this and that. You can't date a student until they have an A license. If I may be incorrect, but I think, didn't he marry someone he taught to skydive?
Oh, dude, you should remember this from the Christmas party. So it was, you actually may have been in the staff meeting, which was my first staff meeting. So we're all in the training room, and Ray's running over all the rules. And I think it was rule number 5 was don't date students. And I'm the brand new guy, but I'm such a fucking smartass that I hold up my hand, and he's like, what? Does fucking them, is that considered dating? And he's like, Jesus Christ, who the fuck did I just hire? Cut to the Christmas party that same year, and Ray's given a speech. It was either Ray or Neil was given a speech and asked everybody who'd broken rule number 5 to hold up their hands. And the entire fucking party held up their hands, because half of the couples that were there met on the drop zone. I mean,
Well,
It's just-
where else can you, when you're there 5 to 7 days a week, it's your entire life.
yeah.
It's not just your job, it's your lifestyle and it's everything you have. And I mean,
Yeah.
you go grocery shopping sometimes, but like, come on, you meet everybody you meet is at the drop zone.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know,
Yeah.
and it's kind of funny. Ray's actually been on the podcast, and Ray and I have kept in touch over the years. And I tell the story about when I got hired with Ray. He actually had an interview with me, and I had been working for Michael Hawks in Vegas for a number of years. And so he's looking at my little bullshit CV, and he's like, "Oh, you worked at Skydive Las Vegas?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was there for 2 years." He's, "Oh, then you know how to work for tough guys, hard asses." And so in my mind, I'm like, roll the dice, because this is the guy that's either going to love you or hate you. And my response to the question was, Ray, if you are twice the asshole everybody says you are, you're still only half the asshole Michael Hawks was. And he looked at me, and you could tell he's like, do I fucking hate this guy or do I love him? And he laughed, shook my hand, and said, welcome to the team.
Nice. Sitting in the seat that I'm sitting in now, and the experiences that I've had over life, I respect Ray a lot for having me on the team for as many years as I was there, and I completely understand. Your business is your baby, and if
Yeah.
you don't protect your baby, then you're just reckless, and you don't give a crap. You don't give a shit about what you're doing. So, did I like everything? Did I like sitting in his office every time I was there? No. And I'm sure we both knew his office very well and Neil's office very well.
Oh yeah.
But if Ray Farrell ever hears this, which probably not, and if he does, then
he will.
I just want to tell him thank you for all the opportunities. I respect him. I respect everything. His decisions are his decisions. It is his business, and I don't skydive anymore. I run a little business and I work by myself because I don't want to have to deal with someone saying something or doing something to one of my clients that I'm going to have to explain. And at the end of the day, I respect every decision he made, whether I agree with it or not.
Oh yeah. It's kind of funny because obviously when we were working there, first off, skydivers, at least our generation of skydiver, we're a bunch of fucking children. I mean, we were literally the most responsible people on the planet, which is bizarre because you're responsible for other people's lives, but you can barely tie your own fucking shoes. Because we did some stupid fun shit, and it was a lot of fun. But and Ray knows this. I love Ray to death, but working for him was tough. I mean, he was a hard ass. That being said, he was a hard ass because he had to work with people like us.
Yeah.
So it's the fucking snake eating its own tail, right? It's just which one causes what? Are DZOs crazy because they got to work with skydivers, or are skydivers wild and out of control because they got to deal with DZOs?
Yeah. Well, someone's got to throw a roadblock up for certain things, and if there are no if there's no consequences for your actions, well, your actions just get worse and worse and worse.
Oh yeah.
And when your actions get worse and you become this reckless person, well, now safety is jeopardized.
Sure.
And I have one regret with doing tandems, and fortunately the person did not get hurt, but I got into this pattern where I'm doing 45-degree toggle whips in, now I'm doing 90-degree toggle whips in, now I'm doing 180-degree toggle whips in with my tandems, and I would always see Ray stand there and watch. And when I surfed him and swooped him out and skimmed the pea gravel and high five them and the dust cleared, I'd see Ray standing there and he'd turn around and walk away. Never said anything. Well, one day my approach to the peas got lower and lower and lower, and I did a 180 whip, and we thumped in so fucking hard in the peas. I just can't believe the person didn't get hurt, and I regret that. I was completely embarrassed and humiliated because, I'm not one to toot my own horn, but I could fly a parachute well, and I still can. And I feel like my landings, my high performance landings were pretty good. And,
sure.
And, but you're not invincible, and you can make mistakes at no matter what the level you're at, you can make a mistake.
Oh yeah.
And it's from that. And then, one of the instructors who like to go and tell on everybody. He went straight. I saw him run. I thought he was running because we needed medical assistance, but he wasn't. He was running to go tell Neil what had just happened. And then I gather the canopy and I see Neil standing there. He does the Neil Waltham thing where come to my office.
Yep.
And he's like, no more. I'm like, understood.
Yep.
I'm not going to argue that one bit. I fucked up, and we're lucky that we didn't break 4 legs on that jump. So,
sure.
If we didn't have 18 inches of pea gravel and I didn't hit the pea gravel, it would have been a whole different story.
Oh yeah. Well, there were a few circumstances like that, and I'll tell you the one that kind of flipped my opinion of Ray a lot was when I started flying for him, because he put me in the PAC 750 right when I hit 1,000 hours. First off, he was the first one to hire me as a jump pilot in the little 172 that he flew. And then as soon as I hit 1,000 hours, he put me in the PAC 750. And as you know, the PAC 750 is a fun plane, certainly to fly. And there were many, many times that you were just off of my left wing as you're rolling out on a tandem and I'm diving like a bat out of hell. Oh, yeah. And I'll never forget. You remember Amy, the fun jumper that used to work for the FAA? Yeah. So she had shot a bunch of pictures and she made a CD for me and labeled the CD Dean's Badass Flying Skills and left it on the pilot desk. Well, of course, who goes in and finds that CD but Ray?
No.
I have no idea that there is even a CD, and I get called into Ray's office and I'm like, well, the plane's done. The paperwork was right. I don't know what I could have done. And of course, this is when I'd gotten very comfortable in flying the PAC. And he puts the CD. I don't see the CD, puts it in the computer, turns the computer screen and shows a series of pictures of me in perhaps a slightly aggressive descent after a tandem. And he's like, you got the pictures, right? And I'm like, yeah. And his response was, you don't need to do that again then, do you? And I went, no. And he went, have a nice day. And just let me go out of the office. And that's when I'm like, okay, he gets it. He understands. He knew this was coming. He's now caught me red-handed, and instead of being pissed off and screaming and yelling, he just kind of took a deep breath and went, all right, he knows. And it was great. And Neil did the same thing. Neil was really, really good about chastising people and getting us to stop doing stupid shit without resorting to screaming and yelling and all that. And in that way, those were 2 great guys to work with. Ray would scream and yell at the stupid stuff. But when it came to something serious, he'd take a deep breath and go, all right, I need to handle this, which was great.
Yeah. I think the difference between Ray and Neil, and 2 things there. I think the difference between Ray and his pilot relations and Ray and his instructor relations was, it's a lot harder to fucking replace your pilot in a pinch. Right. So he would, from the outside view anyway, I think his relationship with the pilot was probably a lot more respectable, because you're flying his $1 million aircraft or $1.5 million aircraft or whatever it is, right? And then the difference between Ray and Neil is, Ray was the guy who looked over his glasses at you stern, and Neil would laugh it off with you. If it was a laughable situation, he'd be laughing until you don't fucking do that again. Yeah. And, it'd be the difference of being disciplined between mom and dad. You know what I mean? So,
well, and Neil was also out there doing it with us too. I mean, he was a fantastic AFF instructor, really good with his students, and just super mellow. He was just a kind of a good old boy, and really, really easy to work with in that respect. So I think between the 2 of them, it was like working with mom and dad, right? Right. And you'd always play one off of the other. You're like, fuck, I got in trouble with dad. I'm going to go keep mom happy so she keeps me from getting in too much trouble.
Yep. I tell you, the last person you want to piss off on that drop zone, though, was Neil, because if you did, you got all the shit work. Oh, yeah. You got the 249 butterball. You got the meth head whose teeth were so rotten it was, you could smell them in free fall. And what I'm saying. You got anyone who's a tandem instructor knows that your passenger makes a difference. Like, you either are going to have a good time with them or you want to unclip them and get the fuck away when it's over. You know?
Yep. Yeah, you definitely you don't want to piss off management or manifest.
Or manifest. Oh my God. Donna is a whole nother story. Like she, toward the end there, she actually treated me with respect and liked me for some reason. I don't
Yeah,
know why that was,
I think
she was
we had
she
a
was a
lot of
real deal.
longevity at that drop zone, and we saw a lot of comings and goings, and for all our faults, we fit in pretty well and did the job really well. So I mean, it goes a long way, right? When you're keeping the customers happy, it's a little bit easier to piss off the staff when you got happy customers, because you got people
Right.
still coming back for more.
If you have a complaint every now and again, but the majority is that guy was amazing and so much fun and this and that. That seems like it's a lot more acceptable than just the person who never gets any comments at all. Like, did you
Sure.
have fun? Yeah, it was okay. Well, what do you mean it was okay? Well, my instructor just was kind of boring or whatever,
Sure.
and
Well, and we
so
we worked with one at Skydance for a while that just was very bland and just wouldn't seem to loosen up no matter how much you tried to involve them in the fun, and it was a drain on it, right? I mean,
absolutely
at least fake a smile, pretend you're having a good day so that the people that are paying a whole lot of money and putting their lives in your hands are at least thinking you're enjoying what you do. I think the
right.
difference was you and I really enjoyed what we did, and this particular instructor, I don't think they enjoyed it.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about, but I think that particular instructor, I think he jumped scared a lot.
Sure.
Honestly,
Well,
I
and
think
we've
he
seen
jumped
that.
scared. Yeah, and you know, being a tandem instructor is kind of like being a comedian, honestly, because back to the whole having the guard either up or down with your student is protecting you or not protecting you as an instructor in your job. But you can't be a comedian without offending someone eventually. Honestly,
For
you
sure.
know. Yeah.
Well,
So
you're gonna step on toes. You're gonna say something that's inappropriate to someone, and I mean, let's face it. Everybody, granted, not as at least it didn't seem like it was as much back when we were working together, but people still walk around looking for excuses to be offended.
yeah,
And if you come into an environment like a drop zone where people tend to be a little over the top, and let's face it, skydiving attracts some pretty intense personalities. If you're this type of person that goes looking to be offended, a drop zone's a great place to do it. Like
oh, absolutely.
it's going to take you 2 minutes to find something or someone that's pissed you off. And it was one of the things that I think for certain me, and I think you as well, embraced the sport and the people in it because they were the type that didn't really give a fuck if you were offended by what they had to say, because you get to say exactly what you want as well. Now, that being said, today's skydiving world is becoming more and more mainstream and more corporate, and the personalities are having to be turned down. And I agree with that completely if you're working in the sport. If you're a fun jumper, man, go balls to the wall. Be yourself 100%. If you're a staff member in the sport, I think it's appropriate these days to dial it back until you're on your own time.
Agreed.
You
Yeah,
know,
and that all comes back to you. I don't know if you asked me this question pre-record or after you hit record, but you had asked me if I was just a workhorse or if I, indulged in fun, and that swayed back and forth,
hmm,
honestly. When I was at Skydance, I was in a particular situation where I was a homeowner and I got in at peak market and my mortgage was $2,700 a month. And this was back in 2005, 6, 7, and 8 and 9, where that's a pretty high mortgage at that point,
oh yeah,
and um, and so I really didn't do much fun jumping at all. Like the plane was tied down, I was in my truck going home,
yep.
and I didn't spend money back at the drop zone. Not by choice, but almost like I can't spend any of this money. If I want to skydive for a living, I have to pinch pennies, and I have to, and that's one of the sad things about the sport. Isn't I think it's changed a little bit. Um, $25 a jump to go and I'm not going to say risk your life, because we didn't look at it as a risk,
Sure.
but it is risking your life for $25 a jump. So, you know, it's $25 an hour. Basically, you're going to do maybe two jumps every hour and 20 minutes, every hour and 40 minutes, or whatever. By the time you gear up, get on the plane, take the plane ride, jump, land, run in, gear up again, get back on the plane, you're probably making $25 to $35 an hour.
Sure.
And it's just one of those situations where I regret not being able to fun jump more. And sometimes I did, but my last full-time season that I worked and lived at the drop zone in Skydive, New England, in Maine, Lebanon, Maine, which is an amazing place, good community. Everyone lived in the campgrounds. Most everyone lived in the campgrounds. And man, I had no bills hardly. I just paid lot rent, and I had my truck note and my insurance and my cell phone and just minimal things. And man, I was swooping that pond every chance I got. I was fun jumping, doing free fly jumps with friends, because there was a plethora of amazing, talented people. And that's the one regret I have, is not being able to sponge up all that knowledge and information and talent that was around me all the time. So.
Sure. Sure. I'm lucky that the last few years that I was flying in Dubai, I had the opportunity to do a lot more fun jumping than I'd done in previous years, because I had stopped fun jumping for quite some time. But I was very lucky in that I had so many years working, especially with guys like you, that I had so much fucking fun doing what I did, that when people asked me if I fun jumped, my response very sincerely was, "What the fuck do you think I'm doing?" Like, yeah, I'm taking a tandem, but I'm having a blast doing what I'm doing, and I'm getting paid for it. So,
Right.
and not to mention, at the end of a 6 or 8 or 10 jump day, I'm fried. Tandems or AFF is exhausting. So the idea of sticking around to get on the sunset load was just not even a thought. And then when
I'm cracking a beer.
Absolutely. Well, and then when I
Yeah.
started flying, I was flying the airplane. So that was it. I never got to jump because I was the chief and only pilot. There was nobody. But again, I had no regrets, because all of those tandems, all of those fun times, and God, load after load of side splitting fun with the instructors and students was my fun jumping. And I was never going to be the best swooper. I was never going to be the best free flyer. But I considered myself a damn good tandem instructor and really enjoyed my time. And it was, again, specifically because I got to jump with guys like you.
Oh man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be the best at everything to have good quality experience in that department, whether it's free flying, swooping, or at the end of the day, as a tandem instructor, it's really about getting that passenger safely to the ground with a good experience.
Sure.
And I feel like 95% of the time that was something I obtained. Every now and again we offended somebody, or God forbid you were single and you said the wrong thing to a passenger, and then when you do, it's like spreads across the drop zone like wildfire, and you're all of a sudden this piece of shit and garbage, and you did this or you did that. And then by the time the truth develops into the story that everybody tells, it's like, wow, well, that's not exactly how it happened, but yeah, I can see how someone could think that person's a piece of shit at this point. Yeah, but
Sure.
That's not exactly how it happened. So
Yeah. For sure. No, I completely agree. I mean, at the end of the day, skydiving is filled with a bunch of people, and we're all fallible. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does stupid shit, and we're not everybody's flavor. I know there are people that fucking hate my guts, and probably for good reason. And I know there are people that really like me. I'm not everybody's flavor, nor what I want to be, right? And there's people out there that I don't particularly care for. The difference is, and I think you're the same way, I don't have to like you to work with you, and I don't have to like you to show you respect. And I'd like to think that overall in my career, even with the jumpers and or staff and pilots that I didn't like, I at least showed them respect. And if I didn't, I'm certainly trying to make up for that as that I get older in the sport, and be better at making sure that even if I don't care for you, I'm going to, give you the respect that you deserve.
agreed. Yeah, and that comes back to personal growth. Whether
Sure.
whether you're a skydiver or, in the corporate world, or no matter what you do in life, it's, you know, there's a game you play in life, and it doesn't mean you're a fake person, but the sooner you learn how to interact with people and kind of give them what they want or what they expect, or to go against, if you can either go against the grain in situations, or you can go with the grain in situations. And the quicker you learn to go with the grain in situations, the more successful you'll be at that path that you're walking,
Oh, for sure.
and that doesn't mean you don't stand up for yourself when it's appropriate. That doesn't mean you become a fake person and you just tell people what they want to hear. It's not literal when I say, you give people what they want, but when you're performing a service or a job or whatever, it has to be, they're paying you money. You have to perform at their standards. You have
Sure.
to, communicate at their standards, and you can't change who you are as a person, but you definitely, respect is the only way to walk that path in a way
Sure.
that doesn't go against the grain.
Well, at the end of the day, it's their game, it's their rules, and you either play by their rules or you find another game. It's just that simple,
Right.
which is good.
Right.
Now, as we
Yes.
wrap things up, I want, especially because you've kind of retired from the sport, what advice do you have to people that have been jumping for a long time? They're like you, and they're starting to wonder, is it time for me to get out of the sport? What was it that made you decide to, obviously you haven't broken ties. I'm a firm believer that once a skydiver, you're a skydiver for life, even if you're not jumping. But what made you step back from the sport, and what advice do you have to anyone that might be thinking about following in your footsteps?
A big part of me stopping skydiving was two things, really. Um, I'm getting older. I can't do this forever, obviously. I have other talents in life that I can build off of. And COVID was a big part of me quitting skydiving. Not because I was afraid of COVID, but because we all got shut down.
Sure.
And there was no way to make money, so I had to rely on my other talents. I'm a carpenter. I do construction. Like I'm pretty good with tools, and I can build things. And so I started a little business. And when it came time to go back to skydiving, I'm like, well, I made 100 grand this year doing this, and I make my own schedule, and I go to work when I want to, and I pick and choose my clients, and I don't know that I want to go back to skydiving, and why would I give up what I've created?
Sure.
So that was part of it, and part of me was sad to make that decision, for sure, because once a skydiver, always a skydiver. That's definitely true. But truth be told, Dean, as I get older, and as I was getting older as an instructor, I noticed certain things that, maybe I'm not as good at this as I used to be. Maybe I'm starting to get a little bit scared of certain things.
Sure.
Maybe I'm done playing the lottery.
Sure.
Maybe I'm going to hurt somebody. And I'm not going to say I was flooded and overwhelmed with fears, but the second you question your ability, you
Sure.
should fucking quit doing it, because you're not just risking your own life, you're risking another life.
Sure.
So when I started noticing those things, I was like, I think it's time for me to exit. I've never heard a person doing this ever in my entire career. And I don't want to change that stat. I don't
Sure.
want to, not just about my own stats, but, of course we have ego, and I don't want to hurt anybody.
Sure.
I don't want to die doing this. I want to become an old man. I don't want to break myself. I've been broken plenty of times with my
Sure.
own activities in the sport, swooping or whatever. Learned the hard way back when we didn't have swoop coaches. And so, but if I could give some advice to someone who's looking to make a career in skydiving, it'd be a few pieces of advice. It would be, set goals for yourself, put some timelines up there, know how to play the game and don't go against the grain. Know when to exit, at least as an instructor.
Sure.
Because it's not about you, really. I mean, yeah, we had all that fun, but in the back of our minds, we all know this jump's not about us. We're just trying to give this person an experience that they'll never forget, in a valuable way. So know when to exit. Doesn't mean you have to quit skydiving. And think about your future, because I don't know about it anymore, but it was kind of difficult to make a future out of skydiving as far as financial and retirement and all these things. And here I am, I'm 48, about to be 49, and I'm no closer to retirement than when I first started fucking skydiving.
Right.
And now I go to work every day. I literally work 6 and 7 days a week right now running a business, and there's some hope for it. I can see the growth of my business, and I'm building a good clientele, but know that your future is the most important thing you have. If you don't plan on getting old, then just keep doing it. But
sure,
I never thought I was going to get old either, and here I am. I'll be 50 in a year and a half. So those would be the biggest pieces of advice. And always respect the team you work with, because one bad apple ruins the bunch, and that's the damn truth.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. And I think the only thing worse than having to work with a bad apple is waking up one morning realizing that you are that bad apple. And there have been times, I'm sure you've done the same thing. You wake up in the morning going, fuck, am I the asshole? Is it me? And there have been times that it absolutely has been me. But those are the wake up calls, right? Those are the times you wake up and go, okay, yeah, it's time to change. It's time to change. But I think that's great advice, man. I mean, I think you can be a hardcore jumper until you're 90 years old, or you can decide to stop at 25 or 30 because you just kind of filled up. Again, once a skydiver, always a skydiver. And the best thing about this sport is the community, which will be welcoming to any jumper, past or present, forever, which is amazing. So for me, the best part of the sport I'll have for the rest of my life, which is the community. Even if I'm not jumping anymore. Although hopefully I'll still get out and jump now and then, but it's certainly not as high a priority as it was, in my 20s and 30s. So. Right.
Yeah. One other piece of advice to people, whether they're new or seasoned, is if you feel burned out and you do not want to quit, take a fucking break. Take 6 months, take a year, just jump enough to keep your ratings current or whatever you want to do, but take a fucking break and rejuvenate yourself with the sport when it's time. Because the worst thing to do is to become that grumpy, ornery person on the drop zone and react on emotion and not be what do they call, what's that book, emotional thinking or something? I can't remember what it's called, but if you respond on emotion only and you don't take a minute to digest what the situation is putting in front of you, well, then you're going to come off as an asshole all the time. Sure. And I'm definitely I have some regrets about that. And you don't want to regret things later is one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give anybody.
I think both you and I have been called an asshole once or twice.
We did our job right then.
Dan, I'll tell you what, man, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to catch up. It's been way too fucking long, and we got to make sure it doesn't take another 10 or 15 years before we sit and shoot the shit again. We used to have so much fun, so let's keep in contact.
Definitely. And I'm honored. I appreciate it. It's been nice. I was a little nervous when it started. I've never done, even a video chat before. I hate them. And, but it's been a cool experience. I'm grateful. I appreciate it.
But just back in the classroom waiting for students. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, man. You have a great one. And there you have it. Another episode of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void, brought to you as always by, and say it with me, fuck yeah, NZ Aerosports. Head to nzaerosports.com. By Pussfoot. That's right, head to pussfoot.com, the extreme sports collective, and check out everything they've got to offer. By summitparachutesystems.com. Jarrett Martin and the family cranking out amazing pilot rigs, as well as incredible rigging courses. And now joining the Lunatic team, it's the one and only Tony Suits. You know him, you love him. Head to tonysuit.com. Check out all the amazing standards, as well as the new incredible signature line they've got going on. And as for us, the Lunatic Fringe is now now on YouTube. That's right, you're going to have the chance to put faces to the audio by heading to youtube.com and looking up the Lunatic Fringe podcast. It's easy. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out all the amazing videos from the previous guests that we've had, as well as new and upcoming interviews on video. As always, I am the fucking pilot. Head to thefuckingpilot.net or theprincesspilot.com. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time around. Well, holy shit, I actually managed to do it. After procrastinating for ages, I finally managed to produce an audiobook version of the Lunatic Fringe book. It's currently available on all Amazon sites, audible.com, and shortly on iTunes. And if you're the page-turning type, it's also, of course, still available in Kindle form, paperback, and hardback on Amazon. 10 hours and 10 years worth of Blue Skies Magazine's articles, all available to you right fucking now, including a few author's notes and even an apology or two. Enjoy.